TestNG. Okay, so let's first understand the basic concept of TestNG, then we will move on to the programming part. So TestNG, if you know, like it is a testing framework which is used to design and maintain test scripts. As of now in Selenium, we have written test script in separate classes, but this is not how we automate our test script in our framework. There is a specific design. There is a different packages under which we uh, write our test cases. So one of them is TestNG. It helps us to design and maintain our test script efficiently and generate the test execution results. As of now, Selenium doesn't generate any test execution results, but TestNG can generate in the form of HTML report. The HTML report will be, the report will be in the form of HTML. It covers a wide range of testing from unit testing to end-to-end testing. Like any kind of testing you can implement or you can achieve with the help of testing. So basically, it is a testing framework. As of now, we have just written the script very normally, everything in the same class, in the same main method. But from here now onwards, there will be some change in writing the test cases. And that is very efficient in order to maintain our tests or to reduce uh, redundancy in the code. So there are some advantages. It provides, first of all, it provides HTML report that Selenium cannot provide. Second, it helps us to achieve parallel execution. Parallelly, let's suppose 2, 3 automation script you want to run parallelly, that also you can achieve. It also supports parameterization. Uh, Parameterization you can achieve with the help of this add variable parameters operator, but this is we do not use. We use this one at the rate data provider. This also helps us to achieve parameterization. What is parameterization? Or what is data driven testing? So performing same functionality with the help of different data set. Meaning is let's suppose you have a login functionality and you want to test that functionality with different input data. Data sets will be different, but functionality, same functionality you are testing. So that is known as parameterization or data driven testing. That we can achieve with the help of data provider. This one, data provider allocation. It helps us to prioritize our test cases, like which test case we want to run first, then in the second, then in third. It also helps us to ignore any execution. Let's suppose, sorry, there are 5 test cases, and uh, you can't hear me. Pawan, can you hear me?
Yes, Sunny, I can able to hear clearly.
Sanjay, can you please rejoin again? Okay, let him rejoin. We will start in 1 minute.
Data provider and data driven, both are same. Or? Sunny, data provider and data driven both are same. Any significance we have?
Sorry, Pawan, can you come again?
No, what I'm saying is whatever we can achieve through data driven, can we achieve same through data provider, or we have
Yes.
any limitations in data provider compared to data driven?
No, no, data driven is just an approach, and that approach we can achieve with the help of data driven annotation. It is just an approach, like it is a kind of framework, you can say. It's a type of framework. So that for that there is an annotation data provider. With the help of
Okay.
actual reading and writing, we can achieve data driven testing.
Okay.
Okay. So
But
I
do we
don't.
use this data provider in the framework, or like we are we using like
Yeah, we
data?
use. We actually for reading data from Excel sheet, we use data provider.
Oh, for reading. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what is the status of Sanjay. He's not replying. So let's continue. Okay. So we can also ignore our test cases as. Okay, fine. So it provides flexibility to ignore the execution of test cases. It means, let's suppose out of five test cases, only two test cases you want to run, and the three test cases you do not want to run. So that you can ignore also with the help of TestNG. It also provides assertions to check actual and expected and actual outcome. This is what we do in manual testing. We have an expectation and we have an actual result that we verify. Based on that, we create defects. So same thing we can achieve in automation also with the help of assertion. Assertion is allows us to check expected and actual results. And if it differs, then our test case will fail. And if it matches, then our test cases will be passed. Next is it supports grouping of test cases. You can group your test cases. Like if you want to if you want to categorize the test cases in a smoke test pack or in regression test case pack, in that way you can create different groups of test cases. That also possible in TestNG. So there are lots of advantages of using TestNG. That is why in most of the framework we you will see TestNG will be a part. You cannot ignore this one. This is the very important framework in designing the test cases, because it not only it helps us to maintain or to manage, but also it provides so many advantages that we can integrate and achieve in our framework. So one by one, we will see all of the topics that we have covered in the advantage section. So let's move on to the annotations part. Uh, there are these many annotations are available, and these are basically help us in the design. In the definition part, we have discussed about the design. So basically, this annotation help us to design the test cases and to maintain the test cases, test scripts that we generally write. So these many annotations are available in TestNG. We use this only to write our test cases or to maintain our test cases. So one by one, we will learn about each and every annotations. As of now, I'm not reading the its definition and meaning because it will be very much confusing. I will write a program using all these annotations, and based on that, I will explain you what is how every annotation works. So basically, in annotation part, you have to understand like what is the priority, which annotation will run first, which annotation will run second, third, fourth, and which will run at the last. So one thing that you have to understand in annotation part is the priority part, and the second part you have to understand like how what is the meaning of each and every annotation and why we should use it. So these two part we are going to cover with the help of a program. Before that, you have to install TestNG in your Eclipse. Without that, you cannot write any test cases using TestNG. So I have a document or the same content is available in the blog link that I have shared. So from there also you can get this one TestNG installation part. So it's very simple. Uh, First of all, you have to check whether how to verify whether the TestNG. Sometimes what happens, TestNG is already pre-installed with Eclipse, so we do not need to download TestNG. In that case, if it is already downloaded, how you can verify that? You can one second. You can right click on the project, and from here you can select build path, and from then you will select configure build path. This is the same process of Selenium jar files integration. If you go to the configure build path and click on add library, if I navigate from here, okay, build path and configure build path. If you go to the library, then here you will see a TestNG option. If this option is available, sorry, from after opening this one, you have to click on here, add library. If this TestNG option you can see, then that means all TestNG is pre-installed in your Eclipse. So you do not need to do the installation. So you just need to select TestNG and click on next, and then you need to click on apply and close. So what will happen? You will see a TestNG library here. This will be added with your project. But if this option is not coming, that means TestNG is not installed in your system, so you have to install it. So how you can install? It's very simple. You have to go to the help section. Thing not help. Uh, yes, help, and then Eclipse Marketplace. You have to open this. Okay, and then you have to search TestNG. Just right here and click enter. Then you will see TestNG for Eclipse. For me, it is showing installed. For you, it will be so like this. So you have to click on install. It will take some time to install. After that, it will ask you to restart the Eclipse. Once you restart the Eclipse, then it will be installed with your Eclipse. And then now if you right click and go to the build path and configure build path, and then if you click on add library, so there you will see the TestNG option. So this is what you have to do in installing the TestNG. Same thing I have written over here, and same thing is available in the blog. So from there also you can get this document. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
once the TestNG,
Sandeep,
yes,
small request actually.
yes.
This annotations we have, right? So I I I have faced this issue last time also. I mean, when I was trying to go through these annotations, basically in even in the blog also, not blog, in the Google also, nowhere they have mentioned the real time where exactly they're going to use all the annotations. We have only like a test and before method, after method, only those three few things only we have like kind of a real time. So I just want to know like where and all we are going to use this before shoot and after shoot in the real time basically. Yeah.
Actually, all the annotations we do not use in our framework. It depends on the requirement. Means like there are 8 annotations right now we can see. So everything we cannot use. This is the most important one. This we have to use it. Without this, we cannot do anything. This after class and before class we do not use.
Okay.
These two we do not use. Method we use or suit we use. So it
Oh,
depends. Sometimes it depends on the framework. We can also use method or we can also use suit. In our
Okay.
framework part, we are going to use suit, before suit and after suit part. This part I am not going to use because
Okay.
this purpose that these two annotation provides that I can achieve without using it. Like there is some settings that I will show you in the framework part. But I would explain like what is the meaning of this. I will explain the meaning of each and every one. But in framework part, we do not use all the annotations. Class one,
Okay.
this two one we do not use. No one use
Yeah.
this.
Okay.
Either suit one or either method one. We have to decide while designing the framework. So I
Okay.
find I actually find lots of advantage of using this two instead of using this. So I go with this. So
Okay, fine.
that I will explain in when the framework classes will start.
Okay. Okay. Sure. Sure.
Okay. So let's start. Let's understand this with the help of an example. So annotations. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create annotations. I will write small test case, a very simple test case using all the annotations. Basically, whenever I'm talking about test case, test script, it means I'm going to create a method under every annotation. Under every annotation, I will create a method, and in that method, I'm going to write the test case. So whenever you are using TestNG and whenever you are writing annotation, after every annotation, just immediately writing the annotation part, you have to create a method because that annotation will only execute with the help of a method. So that you could understand. So first of all, let me create this. So this one I have already created. So whenever you write any annotation, and just after that, you have to create a method, okay, as I said. And this annotation you have to import. It will give you an option. It is available in TestNG annotations. So this one you have to import. Okay. Okay, so all the annotations I have created and just a small message I'm displaying. The purpose behind this is to explain you the priority, how these annotations works, which annotations will execute first, which annotations will execute next. So this priority we have to understand. So whatever annotations is mentioned over here, for everything I have created apart a method. In TestNG, this is the way we have to follow. After every annotations, we have to create a method. Okay. Now, before suit, before class, before method, at the rate test, after suit, after class, after method. Okay. Among these annotations is very much important. This is your test script. Whenever you will create automation script or any test script using Selenium, and if you are using TestNG, so that test script you have to create under this at the rate test annotation. Apart from that, all these annotations are not the test scripts. These are the prerequisite. This is the prerequisite before executing the test cases, and these are the prerequisite after executing the test cases. So these are not the actual automation script. These are just the part of your automation script. Like before executing your test script, what are the preconditions that you want to achieve? So this is the before part. So that part you have to keep either of this annotation. And what is the last part when the test case will execute? So that part you have to keep under this. Any of one you will use, and in that after part you have to keep the after condition part after running your automation script. For an example, if I tell you before executing any automation script, you need to open the browser. So this is the common part. So that common part you can keep in before annotation. And after the test case execution, you have to close your browser. So that part you can keep under this. So your test case will only contains the actual functionality that you want to perform. It will not contain opening browser and closing browser and different kind of preconditions part. This part it will not contain. It will only contain, let's suppose, login. So enter username, enter password, and click on login button. That's it. Apart from that, it will not contain any details. So before doing the login functionality, you have to open the browser, and you have to open the URL, and you have to maximize the browser. So these are the common part. So that common part we will write in the before annotation. Then enter username, enter password, and click on login button. This will execute the test case. After that, you want to close the browser. So that closing part you will write here. So this is the purpose of all these annotations. And now for preconditions, there are three after annotation and three before annotations. So this we have to understand. What is the priority? Okay. So now I will run this and you will see. Now you will understand the priority. So if you are running from TestNG, if you select run as, so it will give you an option as TestNG test. So you have to select this. Okay, now it is executed. Now if we see the console, so here you will understand the priority. So first of all, if you notice, suit annotation has executed. Then before class annotation is executed. Then before method annotation is executed. Okay. So first of all the before annotation is executing, and among this first suit is executing. So this has the first priority. Then class one has the second priority, and then method one has the third priority. Then your test case will execute. Okay. And now after annotations will start executing. So if you follow this order, you will say, so first of all, after suit annotation should execute, but because here this is the first priority. But see, here first method annotation is executing. then class, and then suit. So in the before one, the priority goes to suit, class, and method. And in the after one, priority goes to method, class, and suit. This is the order. So suit annotation will be executed before one will be executed start of the test case, and after one will be executed at the end of the test case. Okay. So this is the order. In this order, the annotations are executing. And this one is the your test case. So as I said, before this, all the before one is executing, and after this, all the after one is executing. Okay.
Yeah, one question.
Yes.
Yeah, what exactly here suit meaning in the structure of the this class files? Yeah, what exactly the class is, or what exactly the method is? Suit means like group of test cases, or what exactly?
This is just now I have explained you like here we will keep the preconditions part, opening browser, closing browser, all this part. Like
Okay.
before running your test case, what you want to do? Is there any precondition that you want to achieve before running the test case? So that part you can keep in any of these annotations, either suit, either class, or either method. So now you have to decide which one you want to use
No,
based
no.
on the.
What I'm saying is like, for example, let's say we have like two, three class files. In
Mhm.
all three class files, we have test cases. Okay. So
Mhm.
before suit, if you put some anything, any code, so
Mhm.
will that applicable for all the classes?
Yes.
Yeah, that just
Yes.
want to please explain that.
I'm coming. This is the second part, so I will come to
Yeah.
that.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. Fine.
Yeah. So this first of all, I just explained the order. Now you will understand one more thing. Here I have only written one test case. What if I write one more test case? Right? Now there are two test cases. So now what will be the order? It will follow. Is it going to follow the same order? Like first all the before, then test one, then all the after, and again all the before, then test two, and then all the after. Is it going to follow the same order, or will there be any change? So let's see after running. Okay, so it is completed. And now see, first before one is executing, all the before, then test one. Okay, and then after method is executing. But again, see, before method is executing one more time. For test one, before method, after method is executed, and for test two also, before method and after method is executed. But the class one, class and suit one is executing only one time. So what conclusion we can draw from here? Class annotation and suit annotation is executing only one time. It doesn't depend on the number of test cases. But the method one is executing every time, and it depends on the number of test cases. If there are two test cases, so before method, after method will execute two times. That means for each of the test case, before method, after method will be executed. Now, we have understood the priority. As I said, before class we do not use. Before method, before suit we use. So on which condition we will use before method and before suit? So let's suppose your application is designed in such a way where for executing every test case, you want to open the browser. That means if it is a requirement for any test case, you want to open a browser and every time, and then your test case will execute, and then you want to close the browser. Again, second test case will start, and for that also a browser will open and your browser will be closed. So opening browser and closing browser part you can achieve with the help of after and before method annotation. So for every test case, if you want to do this activity, you can go ahead with this before method, after method annotation. But if you want to open browser one time, you want to complete your entire test case execution, and after last, at the last, you want to close the browser. If you want to follow this way, so you can go ahead with the suit. So first, before suit will open, it will open the browser. Then your test case one and test case two will be executed, and then at the last, after suit will be executed. So if you do not want to open your browser every time, then you can go with the suit. And but if you want to open your browser and close your browser for every test case, you can go ahead with the method one. So it totally depends on project requirement. Any confusion, anything to discuss?
Yeah, if you have one more class file and with the multiple test cases, that is this applicable for that also?
Means there will be two classes, and in every classes there will be multiple test
Yeah,
cases.
correct.
So in that case, what will happen? So if you run, then test case will at the rate test annotation will be executed. So that is not dependent on the classes that you are creating. Under a single class, there will be multi. I'm thinking, then I will explain. So under a single class, let's suppose there are five test annotations. So if you run that, so all the five annotations will be executed. And it doesn't
No,
depend on the
what I mean to say, no, what I mean to say is, for example, for login class, we have separate class file,
okay.
and like anything else, like we have any separate class file, like two class files. Each class file will have different test cases, no, basically. So, for example, let's say in page object model, for each and everything, we will maintain separate
Mm-hmm.
class files.
Yes.
So in multiple modules, we have multiple test cases. So to TestNG, if I try to run
Oh, okay.
before suit and after suit, yeah, that way is that applicable for all the class files?
Actually, for the suit part and the test part, right now I have written everything in the same class. Right. So this is not how I'm going to create the framework. In the framework part, there will be a separate class where only before suit and after suit part will be written. And in our actual test case class, we will just create this one. So whenever this one will be run, automatically the class that I have created for login functionality will be invoked automatically. Whenever means the design will be created in such a way that suppose this one is created in a separate class, and this one is created in a separate class. So in the separate class, in the second class, if I run this one, so automatically this will be invoked. This one will be executed, then your test case will run, and then after suit will be executed. So here all the annotations I have written in the same class, but this is not how I'm going to write in the framework part. In the framework part, this suit annotations will be available in a different class, and this one will be available in a different class.
So
So
will it be executed only once, right? Only once it will be executed before suit and
right,
after suit.
yes. For every test case, whenever you run any test case, first this annotation will be invoked, then your test case will complete the run. And if there is another test case, so that one will be run. Then at the last, after suit will be executed.
No, no. If another test case exists in another class also, that will be executed first, and then after suit will be executed. Is it?
Yes, yes.
Explain.
Okay. So, anyone else has any doubt?
I think do we have before test and after test also? If I'm not wrong.
For test, I think yes. Let me
Because
check.
if you generate the test ng framework, we get like before test and after test also. But I bit confused like what exactly difference between before method and before test and after test.
Let me check if there is a before test. Yes, there is a before test also, but again, we do not use this. And also, I haven't mentioned here. We this method one is basically important because for every test case, this one is going to invoked every time. So this one I will explain today in today's class. But in the framework part, I am going to go. Means I will go ahead with this. Not only means my framework part. Most of the framework, if you see or if any project, if you have noticed, or if you work, then you will see they follow this approach. They go ahead with the suit because there are so many advantages that you will understand when I will create the framework part. Before class, before test, we do not use.
No, no. I just asked because whether the before method and before test both are same for intro point of view.
No,
Uh, because if they ask, like we should tell
you want to
the
look at it,
meaning.
right?
The meaning at least I need, not like usage basically. Yeah.
Let me create this. So let's understand the priority. Okay, now let's see what is its priority. Like when before will execute and when after will execute. So before test also, so before after should this test one is coming, then class one is coming, then method one is coming. But again, for every test case, only method is executing every time. Test is executing only single time. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. But what exactly the test and suit represents here? Basically, like test is a group of classes, and
Test you can say no. Test is the group of test annotations you can say, and suit basically belongs the group of classes.
okay.
Suit belongs to the groups of classes. Yes. Okay. So this is if anyone else has any confusion, you can ask or we can go ahead with the next part.
No, both are same only, no? Like group of test and group of classes. So not,
Group of classes.
yeah. So
In classes, we write test cases. So that comes under, let me think, test annotation. Uh, Class contains all the test annotations. So class, whenever you create any class, that means you are writing your test cases.
that's
And
right.
at the rate test annotations, that comes under suit. Sorry, this before test annotation. that comes under suit part. And this under this class, like this is a class. As of now, in this single class, I can create multiple test cases, multiple at the rate test annotations. So it means you can say your one class containing multiple test cases, but your suite will contain all the classes. Means if you try to run from your suite level, then it will run all your classes, and under every class of the number of test cases that you have created, all will be executed.
Yeah, that is clear. But before test, it's something like before each and every test case, it will execute. Uh, what
No,
exactly? Like,
here you can see before test will execute only one time.
hmm,
It is only executing one time. It is not dependent on the number of test cases.
okay.
Every time only method one will run.
Yeah. Yeah. Fine. No, I just thought, okay, what is the difference between suit and test? Like,
Exactly. This suit test class, if you see, everything is executing only one time.
yeah.
But that is why any of one we use. We
Okay,
don't
okay.
use.
Okay, okay, no issues. Yeah, I understood. And I think before class, I think it's only specific to that class. No, right? So it's all for all classes also, right?
Before class, no. Uh, See, means then it depends like how you are in a single class you are writing multiple test cases. So it is not like multiple classes if you want to run. Like there are three classes. So it doesn't means like before class will run one time, then all your classes will complete the execution. Then after that, after class will run. So it doesn't follow that order. It's if you see here, it simply follows this order. Class will execute only one time for a single class. Again, if you create one more class, so for that class, this one will execute. And then all the test cases that you are creating, that one will be executed. And then this after class annotation will execute. So
Okay.
for every class first before class will execute, then all the test cases will execute, and then after class will be executed.
Okay,
But
okay. Yeah.
this is on the basis of class level. But let's suppose uh, there are multiple classes, and if we want to implement like uh, before running all the classes, some preconditions should execute. So in that case, you can use this before suit annotation. So in that case, what will happen? First, this will be executed. Then let's suppose there are three classes. So all the three classes will complete its execution, and after that, suit annotation will be executed. So this
Yeah.
second part I have explained. This is what I am going to implement in the framework, and that we will achieve with the help of TestNG XML file.
Okay. Yeah, no issues.
Okay. Okay, fine. Then let's move on to the next topic. That is, there are some TestNG keywords. Mm, not all of them, but some of them we use in our framework. But let's understand the meaning of each and every one. So first one is the priority. Here, if you see, I have created multiple two, three, four test cases I have created here. Okay, and now there is a keyword called. Let's first understand the enabled. Right now, if I run this, so what will happen? So if you see, all the test cases are executed. Test one, test two, test three, test four. Okay, but let's suppose if I write enabled equal to false. Just under this test one annotation, we have to write here. Sorry, not here. Here in the at the rate test. Just after this, you have to write enabled equal to false. These keywords you can implement in at the rate test annotation. Here only you can write these keywords that I'm going to explain. So if you write enabled equal to false, and if you run now, so now you will see only three test cases has run. Test one is ignored. So that means this enabled keyword is used to select if you want to run any test cases or not. If you write it as true, then this test case will be executed. And if you write it as false, then this test case will not execute. So this is the meaning of enabled. Let's suppose there are 10 automation scripts and you do not want to run all the automation script. So for that, you will just write enabled equal to false. That will not be executed. That will be ignored. This is the meaning of enabled. And now next is the priority. Priority equal to, let's suppose if I write 1, 2, 3, and this second one, 4. So as of now, if we see the order, it is executing test 1, test 2, test 3, and test 4. But here I have changed the priority. This one has the priority 1. Second one has the priority 4. Third one has the priority 2. And the fourth one has the priority 3. So now if we run, so now if you see the order, test 1, test 3, test 4, and test 2. So second test case executing last because the priority is the last for the second test case. So here, if you want to change the priority, like if you want to execute this one first, then that is the second. So the priority also you can change with the help of priority keyword. Okay. In the priority keyword, there are some logic. Now I'm going to change. First of all, I'm going to change the name of the test case. Just let's suppose this is the name of the test case. And as of now, I'm removing the priority. Okay. So initially it was test 1, test 2, test 3, and test 4. So one by one it has executed. Now, one test case is open browser, close browser, and account test. So the as of now, we know like the order in which we have written, it will execute in that way. So let's run and see if it is executing in this order or not. So now if you see, first account test is executing, then close browser, then open browser. But the order is open browser, close browser, and account test. But first account test is executed, then close browser and open browser. And if you have noticed, I have removed the priority. It is not like on the priority basis it is executing in that way. There is no priority defined there. But still it is first picking this one, then second this one, and third this one. So can you tell me why it is happening? Or if it is happening, then how TestNG is deciding the priority?
It is
It's
happening based
accepting
on the
ascending.
method name.
No, it's happening because of ascending order. It's taking an ascending order.
Yeah,
Correct.
like
Correct.
alphabetical.
So it is actually taking the alphabetical order. First, it's First is A, so that is why A1 has executed, then C, then O. So it is taking the alphabetical order by default if you do not mention the priority. So by default, TestNG will decide the priority based on the alphabetical order. Okay. So this is again an interview question. Now on this alphabetical order, if we write the priority, close browser is executing. Okay, so let's make it the priority as 3 and account test I'm giving as 2. So by default, the priority is alphabetical order. But now if we override the priority with the help of priority keyword, so the priority will be changed. So now the priority that I have decided in that way, it will execute. So first open browser, then account test, and then close browser will be executed. So open browser, account test, and close browser is executed. So if you override the priority with the help of priority keywords, so that by default the priority of TestNG will be discarded and the priority that you have set up that will be considered. Okay. And next thing is, it is not like priority can only be positive. It can be negative also. It can be 0 also. If you see, it is not giving you any error. So this has -1 priority and this has 0, this has 2. So based on my understanding, open browser will execute first, then close browser, and then account test. And see if it follows the same order or not, because before 0, -1 will come. So what is the order? Open, close, and account test. So yes, it is following the same priority. So it is not like priority can only be positive, it can be negative, it can be 0 also. Okay. Uh, Next is this has the priority -1, this has the priority 0, and this doesn't have any priority. Okay. So now how the order will be picked up? Whether the by default one, because it starts with A, or this one that starts with -1. So which one will be picked up first?
-1 first.
First -1. So
And
let's see.
yes,
Then
then we'll decide on alphabetical because by
Yes,
default
I'm
it is
also thinking -1 will take first. And
okay.
then if it is not taking anything, then it
one.
will decide that alphabetical order.
That means you are saying first open browser, then account test, and then close browser will be executed.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm thinking like -1 and 0 and then account test. Huh?
Uh-huh. Let's see. Then let's run and see the result. So first open browser, then account test, and then close browser. So open browser and then account test and then close browser. That means first -1 definitely this has the lowest priority. So this one will be executed first. The number is lowest -1. And among these two, this one is executing at the second. And this one is executing at the last. So now you can say this has the alpha, this is first coming in the alphabetical. But this is not the actual case. Actual cases, if you do not define any priority by default, TestNG considers the priority as zero. So now this one also has priority zero. This one also has priority zero. So those both are at the same priority. Now it will go ahead with the alphabetical. So it is not like just after this it is going ahead with the default one. No. For default, if we do not define any priority, it means by default TestNG is including the introducing the priority for this as zero. Now both are at the priority zero, and then it will, if the priority is same, then it will check the alphabetical order of the method. So this one is coming first, that is why this one is executing, then this one is executing. So this is the correct logical reason. If you define priority, then definitely this one will be considered first, not this one. If I write here Z, now both will have the priority zero. But in case closed browser should execute first and then this one should execute, right? Based on the explanation. So now let's run this. So first open browser, close browser, and then so yes. So this is the logic. By default, it will consider, if you define priority, that means this one will be considered first. If there is test case with no priority, that will be last considered. But here there is a tie because the priority is zero, and for this also priority is zero by default. So now here comparison is happening based on the alphabetical. But the if we do not, if you ignore this part, so if you explicitly define priority with the help of priority keyword, that test case will get the preference, not the test case which doesn't have any priority. If priority matches, then it will go with the alphabetical order. Okay, so this is the order of priority in TestNG. So this is only limited to the interview perspective. In framework, there is no use of it. Okay. This is the priority. Now next is the depends on method.
Yeah, one question.
Yes.
Can we use a priority annotation and with enabled? Uh,
Priority are enabled. Both you are saying.
yeah, both.
Ah,
Wherever,
yeah.
like for example,
That
can
we
you
can
please?
separate it with the help of comma. Enabled
Okay.
auto false. In that case, it will not execute. So if
Okay.
you want
Okay.
to use multiple priorities, you can separate with the help of a comma.
Okay.
Not only two, multiple
And
also. Everything you have to separate with the help of a comma.
okay. Yeah, and one interview question was, so let's say for example we have 100 test cases
Hmm.
uh, in the in the class file.
Hmm.
So out of that, okay, first time I executed all the test cases, fine, it ran. But this time I want to execute only one test case. So how can you disable, like enable is equal to false for all 99 test cases except one test case in one shot? We do you have any shortcut for that?
That you can do with the help of TestNG XML file.
But not disenabled, huh?
Not then enabled will not work because 99 times you have to make it false.
Correct. Yeah.
That is not possible. That is a tedious job. So at one shot, if you want to do that, you can do with the help of TestNG XML.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So
So
they will,
we don't have any shortcut also, no, for to write this annotation like enable is equal to false.
no, because enable you are using in every annotation. So
Correct. Yeah.
here every time you have to make it false. So if you want to make it, if you want to make 99 test cases false, so that you have to do with the help of XML file, TestNG XML file. So that is
I
the
don't know.
second part. I will come to that one.
He was asking for this enabled only. I
Mm,
think to test the knowledge only. I think he was asking the interview. Okay.
okay, that is a good question.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see this one. Depends on method. So what is the meaning of depends on method? As of now, I'm removing the priority. Okay. So we have three test cases, but this closed browser test case depends on this test case. You just need to write depends on method and equal to, and here you have to specify the method. It means this method is dependent on this method. That means if this one will not execute, then this cannot be executed. This is the meaning of depends on method. In order to execute this one, first this has to be executed. If it doesn't execute, then it will not execute. Okay. So if you run this, mm, or let close will come first. So anyways, it is going to pick this one first. This is the last, this is the second. So let's define this one here. Okay. So now this one is dependent on this one. First, this should be executed, then this should be executed. There is no priority I have defined, but TestNG will pick the priority on the basis of alphabetical O, C, and Z. But since here depends on method is written, so for this one will be executed first, then this will be executed second, then this one will be the last. So the our order will be close, open, and Z count test. So let's see if it follows the same order or not. So close account and then open, close account and then open.
No, I think we need to put depends on for the second method test case. I think because anyhow it alphabetically is executing.
No, no, this is fine. Actually, this is printing the masses part, so that is why it has printed this. So first close browser will be executed because it is this one. Ideally, this should execute first because this comes. Okay. This is open. Right. So let's make it A. So now this one will execute first, this one second, this one third, based on the alphabetical order. Now it is fine. This is the this should be the order, but now here there is a depends on method. So for this one will execute first. Then this one will execute it, and lastly this one will be executed. So close Z account test, open browser. Okay. So here Z count test is executing in the second. First close browser is running, then Z account test is executing, and then open browser is executing. That is very weird because how it is speaking, I am not understanding now. Because if it depends on this one, This one first should be executed. This is fine, but after, again immediately this should execute, and then this one. But here this one is getting picked up, and this one is getting picked up. Lastly, it is getting executed. So if I remove this, so this time it will work fine. Close browser and open browser. But if there is another test case, then first that one is executing, and then depends on method is executing. We create one more test case. Yes. So here what is happening? That depends on method. Whatever the method name you are mentioning, that one is executing first. After that, the rest of the method is executing based on the alphabetical order. And then lastly, this one is executing. So it depends on method one executing at the last. This is what the order is following here. First close
But
browser, then G account, then Z account, then open browser. So this is the way it is. This depends on method is following the order. The list of the methods that this method depends on. There is no guarantee on the order on which the method dependent upon. Okay, so here it is already written. There is no guarantee on the order on which the method dependent upon will be run, but you are guaranteed that all these methods will run before the test method that contains this annotation is run. Okay, so now it is clear. But you are guaranteed that all these methods will be run before the test method that contains this annotation. That means this depends on method. So that is done. Then this is correct. This is dependent on this one. So dependent one will be executed first. After that, the rest of the method will be executed, and at the last, this one will be executed. So this is the explanation. Okay. So I was also not aware of this. I thought just after this one will be executed, and then the rest of them. But this is not the case. The opposite is the case. First dependent one, then rest of one, and then this one.
but in that case, like say, for example, in a application, so the flow will not be same, no? Like first, no, depend on this case, and the last test case should be one after other, right? Because
Yeah, I understood you understood your question. That is why I said we do not use all the keywords in framework
okay, okay.
because there is lots of confusion. In our framework, we do not use priority. We use enabled. We do not use priority.
Oh, we do not use priority, huh, in
Yeah,
framework.
it means our test case is a very real time scenario. So there we cannot introduce keywords based on the requirement. Like due to this functionality changes, they will ask you to execute this test cases. So there you cannot decide priority. There you can maximum go ahead with this. This is just an example for interview purpose. I am explaining with this method name. This is how I am writing the method name. But in real time, the method name will depends on the application section. If it is a login, so login account or based on that. So there you cannot decide the priority by writing these keywords. So this depends on method, expected exception, invocation count, priority. These are we do not use in our framework. But in
But
frame,
how can we achieve this basically in the real time, like when we're writing test cases, right? So it will be executing alphabetical order. So in that case, let's say for example, I'm entering username, enter username. Then
mm,
for example, let's say I'm entering like password. So in that case, password may execute first and then username may execute next, right? So in case if we are not defining priority,
But
how
in
can we achieve?
real-time framework, why you will create two different methods for entering username and password? You
Okay,
will only
not only
create
username password. Let's say for example in login page only we have like two different methods. One is entering password and there
Hmm,
is any other method, any other like for example back button something like that.
yes.
So yeah, this is that before executing the entering password, if back button is executed, then the flow may break, right? So in that case, how can we
That,
achieve?
so that we are not going to do. Login part is the common part. In
No,
order
no,
to
I told example only. Yeah, I told example.
that example doesn't depend means that we cannot introduce in our framework. Our framework should be very realistic. Our
Okay, okay.
framework principle is login part is the common part. So based on the principle, login part will go under the before shoot part. So whenever we write any test case, automatically before shoot will be executed. So
No, no,
there
no.
is no
What I'm saying
confusion.
is, no, no, sorry to interrupt. No, for example, not only login page, in any other page, we have like these kind of examples, right? So
Mhm.
how can we set the order basically? Like first this test case has to execute, and then this test case has to execute.
If explicitly, if you want to introduce the order, then you have to use priority keyword. Let's suppose there are 5 test cases and you want to follow a particular order. Then you can set the priority simply 1, 2, 3, and 4. In that
Correct.
case, do not use depends on method. Go ahead with the priority because priority one will be first considered 1, 2, 3, and 4. So definitely one, then second, then third, then fourth will be executed. But in that case, if you use depends on method, so that will create confusion. So in that situation, let's suppose, but the framework part is totally different. For every test case, before suit will be executed. So there we do not need to worry about the priority. But explicitly, if you want to set the priority, if there is such situation, that can also happen in the project. So I would suggest to go ahead with this one because this will not create any confusion. If you write 1, 2, 3, and 4, so it will follow the same order. But there, if you write depends on method, and if there are only two methods, then this will work. But if there are multiple methods, then it will create confusion in the priority. So better not
Oh,
go ahead with this.
no, I just understood like that you're not at all using this priority in the framework.
Right. And in my framework, like we, it depends on the requirement. Like I do not find priorities should be used because for login part or for anything else, automatically configuration part of the framework I'm putting in the before shoot. So that is automatically will be executed whenever I will run my test cases. But there are different sections. Like you said, after login, let's suppose if I have 4 different test cases, and in that, if
Yes.
I want to set priority, so yes, in that case, you have to use priority keyword.
Okay, okay, okay. I thought in that case also we should not will not create any priority.
No, no,
Okay,
no.
okay, no
In
worries.
that case, you have to use. But
Okay,
login
okay.
one, for login, there is no need to set priority because that is the common part by default will be executed.
Okay, okay, okay.
Okay.
And each
So
and every
see,
test case in each and every classes, like we need to set this priority in the like 1, 2, 3, 4, or like it will keep
no
on increasing the number.
class level you cannot set priority keyword. Class level, in class level you want to set priority, then you have to mention in the TestNG file. In the TestNG file, the way you will mention in that way the classes will be picked up. If you mention
No,
the
no,
first class at the first place, so that will be executed. So I
no,
will
no.
see that part in the
No,
TestNG XML.
no, my
There,
question here is basically, let's say for example, we have four test cases in one class,
hmm.
and there is another test case in second class. So for that second another class, sorry, in another class we have sixth test case, right? So are we going to set the priority as six in that class, or we will be setting like one in that class?
So which one you want to execute first?
No, first I will be executing this first class file test case only.
First class file, all the test cases you want to execute, and
Correct.
then the second class test cases.
Exactly. Yeah.
In that case, you do not need to set priority. You just need to mention the. Let me create a TestNG file. Then you will understand. Then your questions will be clear.
Okay.
Okay. In the TestNG file, you will understand this class level concept. Which class will be picked up first, and which class will be picked up second.
Okay. Okay. No issues.
Okay. So this one depends on method is done. There is an invocation count concept. So invocation count, if we mention here as 5. Okay. Invocation count, if you mention the number, that number of time this test case will be executed. That if you mention as 5, so this test case will execute 5 times. So now if I run this, so see open browser is executed 5 times and then rest of the methods are executed. Okay. So this is the meaning of invocation count. If you want to execute that test case this number of time, then there you can mention invocation count. All these whatever I am explaining are not, is it not like all we are going to use in the framework. I am explaining only on the basis of interview perspective. There you can expect these questions. It is not like all we are going to use in our framework, because there is no use of it in real time. We do not follow this kind of approach. What is expected exceptions? Let's suppose in this method, if I create an array. Okay, and if I now I want to print the array value which is available at the index number 6. So can you tell me what is the output? Anyone?
We'll get the error message, I think, because index out of the index, thing like that.
Yes, so it will give you array index out of bound exception because you are
Yes.
trying to access a value which is outside the range. Okay, now if I run this, so see, all the methods are executed, but for this one is not executed. When it tries to execute this one, if you see this is failed also, it has given you an exception. But all the rest of the three are executed. Those are passed, but this is failed. And for the failure reason is this is the exception. Okay. Now if I mention expected exception equal to exception dot class. And now if I run this, so now you will see all the 4 test cases are passed without giving you any exception. It means like your code is going to give you an exception and that exception you want to ignore. In that case, let's suppose your any one test case is going to give you an exception and that exception you want to ignore. You want to bypass that exception for time being. In that case, what you can use this keyword. And there you can also mention that particular exception like array index out of bound exception, or you can simply mention this one because this is the parent of all the exception class. So any exception, if it is going to give you this method, that all will be handled by this one. So best is to just write exception dot class. So now you have seen this one also passed. Since it is going to give you an exception, it will not display you any result because there is no value, but it will ignore the exception also. That means your test case will be passed without any result, and that exception will be ignored. Okay. Now there is no practical use of it. Why should I hide any exception if it is coming? It should be displayed and I should resolve my problem in the code, right? I don't know why there are different options, different scenarios, and all we do not use because there is no need of it. If my code is going to give me an exception, that should be displayed and I should, so that I can resolve it. So I do not need to bypass. But let's suppose this one is going to give you an exception, but you are worried about this test case. Here you are working. So as for time being, you can ignore the exception part because again and again you do not want to see the exception on the console because you are working on this test case. So for that time being, you can write this one so that you will not see any exception for this. Once this part will be completed, then remove this one and fix the exception which is coming here. But practically there is no use of it. But in interview, they can ask you how you can ignore any exception in TestNG if it is coming in your code. So in that case, you have to tell this keyword is there that can do this functionality. Okay. So priority enabled depends on expected condition invocation called. Keywords are completed. In priority, there are different sets that we have covered. Okay. Now, as I said, TestNG is going to give you execution result. How you can see the result? I have run so many test cases. Just after console, if you click on this, here it will show you how many test cases you have executed and how many are passed and what are the time it has taken. This part also, this part will come when you run your test case from TestNG, but this is not a proper result. So how you can get the proper result? For this, whenever you run any test case in TestNG, simply refresh your entire project. So right click on your project and refresh it. Once you refresh, a test output folder will come. Expand this. Here you will see a index.html file. Just copy this file location. Do not open this one in Eclipse. Go to the properties. In Eclipse also you can open, but that will not give you the proper feel of the report. So better to copy this location and open your any browser and open that location in your browser. So here you will see the report of the test engine. Okay. Passed method, there is a show link. Click on this. It will show you all the 4 methods that are passed. There are so many things. One test case, that is the default. This is the package name. Times, if you click on time, so every test case taken how many times. So that time also you can see. The report or output, there is nothing to display. Ignored method. So do TestNG has versions? Yes, TestNG has versions. Okay, and then you can click on chronological order to view which one has executed first, then second, then third, and then fourth. So that chronological order you can also see. So only this, and if you click on this method, so all these methods are displaying here. So these are the methods, these are the test cases that you have run and that are passed. So all the details you can see in the report. If something is failed, so failed, that also will come here. Okay, so this is a very basic HTML report of any Selenium script that we run, but there is an advanced version of report that is the extent report. So that we will incorporate in our Selenium framework. That is little bit complex because there are so many codes that are HTML codes. So that, and those codes are very generic. Those we will simply copy and paste and use it in our framework. Some changes we have to do. So only those changes part we have to understand. All the HTML codes are available on Extend Report official website. From there, I have copied all the HTML codes and I have incorporated in the framework. So that part I will show you, and where you need to just make the changes that will display in the report, that you have to understand on the Selenium perspective. This is very simple, but that report when I will open, and that if you see, when you will, if you have already seen that, that is fine. But if you haven't seen, then you will see this is the best reporting version of any execution result you can display to your, or you can use in your project, or you can display to your stakeholders. This is the best reporting uh, feature available in the market as of now, because many of the projects are now moving to the cucumbers. They are also using extent report. First of all, it looks very beautiful. Second thing, it gives you each and every detail. So when I will cover that part, then you will see. Okay, so the question was that this TestNG has different versions. There are different versions. Every time it keeps on updating. So that part you will see in the Maven part. When I will configure the Selenium framework with the help of Maven, then I will show you the different versions of TestNG. Okay, as of now, uh, directly you can use TestNG by just installing it and by just configuring it. TestNG framework. TestNG is a testing framework. It is a framework. It is not a plugin. Okay, so this is the reporting part. Next thing is, you can also run your automation script using TestNG by just right click and click on run as and TestNG test, or you can also create a TestNG file. If you right click on the project, there is a TestNG option will come. From here, you have to select convert to TestNG. Just click on this. And it will create a TestNG file like this. Just click on finish. A TestNG file has been created. From here also you can run your test cases. And in our framework, we run our test cases from here only, testng.xml, because it is going to give you a lot of advantage and lot of features. From here, you have to select source. This is the XML file. First of all, the parallel execution you can only do with the help of TestNG XML file. Okay, and there are 2-3 more things are there. Slowly, we will cover every part when the framework classes will start. XML is the extension. XML is a different language. Based on that, you can create XML's file. You can see this is an XML extension, XML file. I also don't know much about XML. HTML is a different thing. XML part is a different thing. XML is the internal part, or HTML. Uh, I I do not have much knowledge about web designing, so I cannot explain you much. Okay.
This TestNG results file will override each and every execution.
TestNG, come again.
No, this is TestNG result file is there, no?
Results.
Like,
Okay, this one that
yeah,
we have.
Yeah, we have just checked to know this one will be overridden each and every execution.
I
For
think
example,
yes. Let me run this again and okay, let me run another test case and see if it is getting overridden or not. I think it should be overridden.
Yes, it is over.
Okay, so this one test case I have run, and now let me refresh this. So yes, it has overridden. Overridden.
okay, I think okay.
Okay.
And
So
we have
yeah,
like failed results also failed to maintain separate results file for failed test cases.
failed test cases. So that also you can see in the same location. Like here, all the test cases are passed, so you can see all the past one. If anyone will fail, so for fail one, another section will come here. So under that section, you can see the failed result. As of now, I can
Because yeah, why
yeah.
I'm asking because there was inter question like how you run the failed test cases only and how we run the failed test cases using script. So there are
That
two inter questions I faced and I don't know like how where exactly we can run these failed test cases and how to achieve that.
like out of the five test case, if two test case fail, so how you can only pick those two test case for the second run?
Yeah, oh,
Yes,
yeah, correct. Through result file only.
that this one can also be done. I will show you this one in the framework part.
Okay, okay, thank you. And also through script, how we execute this file test cases? Like, okay, through result file, we are going to execute those file test cases alone. But through script also, there is some method it seems how we can run this only file test cases in second iteration. So say for
Mm-hmm.
example, out of five test cases, two test cases has been failed. So to make sure again why these failed test cases are failing, so because of some timeout issue or something like that, they are going to execute those failed test cases again to make sure again these two test
Mm-hmm.
cases only are failing or not. That is,
Mm-hmm. And
there are two methods. One is
that logic,
to
yeah, that logic we have. I will implement in the framework part.
yeah. Thank you very much.
Because here I cannot fail any test case. In the framework part, test case will fail due to the
Okay, yeah,
expert issues. So there we can
okay,
see this.
yeah. Thank you very much.
So tomorrow framework part will not be started because tomorrow Excel reading and writing part I will cover. From next week it will be started. These are only part of the framework only. Means all this TestNG, everything we are going to use in the framework. So from today we have started understanding the basics of the framework. Like TestNG we are going to use. So what is TestNG and everything we are understanding. So you can consider from today only the framework part is started. But the proper framework thing will start from the next week, the designing part. Okay, so once you create TestNG file, so whatever the classes are available here, annotations, keywords, method annotations, this one is not picked up because there is nothing written over here. Excel reading is not picked up because there is nothing written over here. Method annotation is picked up because I have created something here. Here I have created something, and similarly here I have also written something. So that is why only these three classes are picked up here automatically. Now, from here, if you run this XML file, so all the classes will run. This is what Pawan was asking. So here, this is the first class name. So this one will be picked up first. This one will be picked up second. This one will be picked up third. So under this keyword class, there are four test cases. So all four will be run. And now in this four, if you set the priority, so based on that priority, these test cases will run in this class. Then it will go to the next class. In that class, the number of test cases that you have created all will be executed. Once it completes, then it will go to the third class. If you copy this and if you paste it here, so now the order is changed. Now this one, and then lastly this one will be executed. So based on the name, class name you are mentioning here, based on that, TestNG will pick up and will execute your classes and the test cases that you are writing inside the classes. Okay. So this, in this single test, this is a suit label tag, this is a test label tag, and this is a classes label tag. So right now under a single test tag, you are writing entire classes. But if you want to consider your one class as your one test, the second class will be your second test, third class will be your third test. So in that case, you have to create this test suite three times. One class you can keep in one test tag. Second class you can keep in the second tag, and third class you can keep in the third tag. So right now you have one test case, and this is your class which you consider as your one test case. This is your second test case, and for this there is a class, and you have third test case. For that there is a different class. All the test cases are under a suite. So suite is a group of test cases, and a test is a group of classes. So this approach also you can follow, or if you want to include all your classes in a single test, that also you can do.
Any
But I will
advantage?
follow. Yeah, go ahead.
Any advantage like writing this in this approach when compared to
Uh,
previous approach?
Advantage is there is no advantage. There is just a procedure, like a procedure you can say. Like I want to consider one by my one class, because in the page object model, if you have concept of page object model, then you know, like for every test page we create a test class. So that test class will be considered your one test case. So that is why in the framework part I follow this up. We all follow this approach. One class will belongs to one test tag, because one test, for every test case there will be a test class and test case class. As of now, whatever I will say, only I think Pawan can understand, or if anyone of you have understanding of page object model, then you can understand. But right now it will go as a bouncer. So don't worry about that. Once the framework designing part will come, so there I will explain you the proper, then you will understand properly. As of now, what I can say, we will follow this approach. For every class, we will create one test tag. This approach we will follow. Why? This reason I will explain properly from next week. Okay. And now if you run this, so before running this, let's understand this one, because this it will run this part also. Before method and after method. Okay. Let's understand before method and after method annotation in a more practical way. So as of now, if you see one test I have created and a proper test case I have written over here, that will drag and drop. So drag and drop functionality we have covered already in the Selenium topics classes. So this is the same application which will just drag and drop operation it will perform. So for this, I have written a test case, drag and drop. Okay. But again, we know this part is common. Driver location, opening the Chrome browser, and then opening the URL and maximizing. This part is common. So this part I will not write in my test case. Instead of that, I will write this part in before method. Why? Because before we know before method will execute every time for every test case. So that means for whenever any test case will run, first before method will be executed. And what we are going to put in a before method? Open browser logic. So this is a practical example of using before method. Whenever any of my test case will run, first my browser will open. This is what we do. Without opening browser and without loading the URL, we cannot perform anything. So that common part I will write in open browser under before method, because This one will be executed for every test case. So now I do not need to worry about how Chrome browser and how URL is going to open. This will be invoked automatically. I just need to focus on this part. And here for driver, it is giving error. Why? Because here driver is local to this method. So you have to make this driver as global. So just on the class level, just declare this. Okay. Now you will not see any. And just after running the test case, you want to close. So you will write this part. Driver.close. So driver.close will close the browser. Okay. So now see what you have written in your test case. Just the logic part. You are switching to the frame. Then you are creating action class for source for drag and drop. Opening the browser and loading the URL, maximizing part and closing part. This is not the part of your test case. This is the precondition and post condition. So condition part you are mentioning in the method, and only the logic part you are mentioning in your test case. So if you now go back and you recall the definition of TestNG, it helps us to design and manage the test cases. So this is how it helps us to design and manage the test cases. So this designing part we cannot achieve in Selenium. In Selenium we had to write everything one by one, but here in designing part we can achieve. Apart from that, other functionality also you can do. This is a test case which we have written for selecting a value from the calendar. So here I'm creating one more test case, public void select date. Okay. So JavaScript, this is not required. Okay. So there is one more test case which will switch to the frame and it will select a value in the calendar. Okay. So only logic part I'm writing for this, it will open the browser. But I guess here the URL will be different. So their URL is not common. For one test case, URL is different, and for second test case, URL is different. So this part we cannot write in the before method. So this two part I cannot write here. This two part I have to write here because URL is changing for every test case. And similarly, for selecting a date, what is the URL? Date picker. So this is the URL. Okay. So what is the common part? Browser setting and opening the Chrome browser. And now for this test case, this URL will open and it will maximize, and then it will perform the test case. Then it will close the browser. Now this test case will run. For this test case, again, this part will be invoked, and then it will open this URL and maximize. Then it will perform the test case. Then it will be closed. Now see, only test case test case part I'm writing 2 times, but this common part I have written only 1 time. So it reduces the redundancy of the code. That means same code we are not writing again and again. Common code we have put in the common method, common annotation, because we know this annotation is going to invoked for every test case. So my common part will be executed automatically. I no need to bother about this. So this is the advantage of TestNG. Common functionality will be invoked every time automatically. You just need to write one time. Only the logic part, the test case part you have to write. Okay. So now let me run this. So here the D is first and S is second. So this one will be executed first and this one will be executed second. So let's see. I will take 10 more minutes to explain the parallel execution part. So till 11 till this class will go because it's a very small part. So now you have understood the before method, after method concept, this annotation part. Proper example, like now see first browser is opening and this drag and drop will be performed. Done. Browser is closed. Now second browser will open for selected it. See, if you try to do this only with Selenium, so two times you have to run this test case. But here only one time you have run and all the test cases are executing one by one. Okay. Now browser will be closed. Done. Now if you run the result, so see two methods are executed, drag and drop and select date. Okay. So this is the logic of, and if you also see here Chrome browser and Chrome browser, two times it has launched. These two test cases are passed. So this how invocation part, how two times browser is opening, everything has are controlled by these annotations. Two test case, two test annotation, that means two times your browser will open. And that part you have to handle here in the method, before method, after method. These are the common parts. So for every test case, this common part is executing. And this is the way, this is how we write test cases in framework.
In
Okay.
the real time, like we need to launch each and every time. Chrome browser we need to launch each and every time for every test case, or we can launch one time and we can execute all test cases. How it will be basically.
I didn't get your question. Come again, please.
In the real time, don't you launch this Chrome browser for each and every test case, or is it enough like if we launch once and if we execute all test cases?
If you're using before method annotation, then every time one browser will open for one test case.
Yeah, no, which is the realistic in the real time application while designing the scripts. Don't you launch
Ah,
Chrome browser each and every test case?
both are realistic. If
Okay,
you
okay.
if you want, like for every test case, your test case should start from this scratch. Like it will open the browser, it will launch the URL, it will log in, and then it will perform your test case. If this order you want to follow, that setting you can do in your framework. And if you want your browser should open only one time, all the test cases will be executed, and then at the last your browser will be closed. This is also a realistic part. This also you can achieve, but for that you have to do that level of setting. Both approach is realistic.
Yeah, I think advantage is this one only, no, because If something
Advantage
fails,
is
right?
this.
Yeah.
Correct, correct. Advantage is always try open the browser from scratch for every test case.
Okay, okay, thank you. That was just want to confirm on that. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the I prefer this one only because if anything goes wrong, then we can understand what is
Correct.
happening.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so this before method after method concept is now clear with proper example. Okay, now I'm going to before presentation. Okay, now this test case I'm putting here, and for that, this common part also. Simply, I'm creating two test case, one test case in one class and another test case in another class. Here I want to do parallel execution. So from here I'm removing this first test case. So this one, this for this class contains a test case that is drag and drop, and this parallel execution class contains a test case that will do selected date. These two test class I want to run parallelly. So parallel execution you can achieve with the help of TestNG. There are three levels of parallel execution that you can do. Okay. This is your first tag. Your class is method annotation. So this is already mentioned here. Next class name is parallel execution. So if you see the class name, it starts with TestNG because this is the package name. So here TestNG is written and then it is class name is written. So whenever you create any class in the TestNG file, always starts with the package. So our second class name is parallel execution. So this one we have to mention in the TestNG. So here in place of keywords, I will write parallel execution. So this is why one test case, and this is why my second test case. Okay, and these two are classes. So how you can execute these two classes parallelly? Before that, let's understand how you can run these two tests parallelly. There are two test tags, right? So how you can run these two test tag parallelly? Right now, if you run, so it will not run parallelly. First, this one will be executed, and then this one will be executed. But if you want to run both these at the same time, so for that, in this suit tag, these two tests are available under this suit tag. So here you have to mention parallel equal to uh, tests, and this value you have to keep in double quote. Okay, parallel equal to test. That means you whatever the test tag you have mentioned, all will be executed parallel. Now, if I run this, now if you right click and select TestNG suite, so now on suite level you are running, like all the test tag will be run. So it will launch two Chrome browser at the same time. It has failed. Cannot have same test. Cannot have same name. Test. Why? Because here these two test case name are same, so it cannot be same. So as of now, I'm making it different. See, two Chrome browser is launched parallelly at the same time. So at see two browser is launched parallelly. Now my laptop speed is very slow, so I don't know. It can hang also. That also you can do, but that for that cross browser testing you have to do. In that case, in the before method you have to launch new Chrome driver. In the second before method you have to launch new Firefox driver. If you do this part, then it will work. So see, one is the drag and drop, and this is both are completed. So it should generate the result of the execution. So both browser completed its execution, and it is taking some time. See, it is completed. Two browser launched at the same time. It is completed, and this is the two test case. So this one can be done parallelly. So as I said, like parallel execution you can achieve in here also only. I thought Selenium is difficult. I didn't get your question. Can you come again? I thought Selenium is difficult. It's understandable. But also, yes, there are lots of things in Selenium, and it is not difficult. Parallel test. So all the test tag. If you create one more, so three browser will open. If you mention 10, then 10 browser will open. But again, it depends on your computer configuration, like size, RAM size. Basically, it depends on the RAM size. My computer is little bit slow. Two script works fine, but five Chrome browser, if it opens parallelly, then it will be hanged. 8 GB RAM is there, then that is fine. So this level parallel execution worked fine. And basically in TestNG, parallel execution works very fine on this level only. On class level and on method level, there are two more levels. On that levels, it sometime it works, sometime it doesn't works. But on this level, it works very fine. Okay. So what is class level? This is the test level. Test level means all the test tag you are running separately. In one test contains one class, one test contains another class, and in every class there is a separate test cases you have written. Okay. Now let's suppose uh, this test case in a single class you have written two test cases, and you want to run these two test cases parallelly. How you can do that? For that, there is a single class. As of now, I am removing this. What is the method annotation, right? So this one, as of now, I have commented out. Okay, this is commented out. So only this one is currently active. How to comment out? For that, you have to press Control Shift and forward slash. Control plus Shift plus. If you press this, just select all this and Control forward slash, then it will be commented out. So two times comment are done. So this is already commented out. This one is available. In this, two test cases are written. Both you want to run parallelly. So since this class is available in this test and you want to run the two test cases parallelly. So here you have to mention parallel equal to double quote methods, and this you have to remove from here. Okay. Now in this class, if there are multiple test cases means multiple methods. So those will be executed parallelly, right? So now this is on methods level. In a single class, there are multiple test cases, and all the test cases you want to run parallelly. So for that, you have to use methods level. So see, two Chrome browser is launched parallelly. It may work or it may not work. See, it is still not nothing is happening here, but here already a URL is launched, but still it is nothing is happening here. So you can see both are failed. Nothing has been done. Both are actually ignored. So as I said, on methods level it can work and it cannot work also. But on test level it definitely works. It can, if you run second time, then it can happen, it will work. And again on third time it will not work. So this is an issue. So this issue I will resolve in the framework part. How I will resolve that I will explain there only. It's with TestNG you cannot on TestNG level you cannot solve this problem. For that you have to, there is a different class that I have to create in order to resolve this issue. Okay. So in a single class, if there are multiple test cases, if you want to run those two parallelly, that also you can do. But and also if you want to execute these two classes parallelly also, that means on the class level also, if you want to do that also you can do. For that you have to mention both these classes in the same test. So in the same test you have two test cases, two classes are mentioned, and here on the parallel level you have to write classes. So in this case what will happen, both these classes will execute, means the test cases that you have run in these two classes will run parallelly. If you mention parallel equal to classes, but there should be multiple classes. In a single class, if there are multiple test cases, so you have to mention here methods, and that class name you have to mention. If you want to run multiple classes
Sunny,
parallelly, yes,
multiple classes means more than two,
more than one.
more than one. Okay.
Okay, so both
The first one
all,
also same, right? The first one, whatever you explained, that is also it will execute parallel both the classes only, no?
yes, but that is on the test level. Like for one test case, you are creating one. That is just a consideration, you can say. You are categorizing one test case, one classes. But
Right.
let's
Okay.
suppose you want to run all the classes parallelly, so that also you can do on the class level. So you can mention all the classes, and here you just need to write classes, so all the classes will be run parallel.
The output will be same only, no? In both the approaches.
Both approach is same, but again in this one it will not work. If you run this parallel execution will not work properly. So that is why I said the previous one, in that it worked very fine. Everything worked very
Okay.
fine
Okay.
that
Okay.
level. But since there are three levels, that why I have explained to you, so that if interview they can ask, you can explain them. But the first one is the, I will not say is the right one, but that is the proper one, because in that level it works very fine parallelly. Okay, so we will follow.
And this class name is equal to TestNG parallel dot execution. We already wrote, no? Like again, why we need to mention that? With this one line, why it's not executing?
With this line, I
The
didn't get
class
it.
name, no, class name is equal to TestNG dot parallel execution. We have already defined, right? But again above, we do define parallel is equal to test.
No, if on test level, if you're defining, then here you do not need to define. From
No,
here
not that
you
one. I'm saying the below one. The class name is equal to TestNG dot parallel execution. No, initially you told, no, like when we wrote class name is equal to TestNG dot parallel execution, it
hmm,
will run like one by one only. For that, we
hmm,
need to define parallel is equal to test that you
yes,
mentioned, right?
yes.
So my question is, why we need to define this class name is equal to TestNG dot parallel execution if it has to run one by one?
No, no, no. Let's suppose in this class, if you want to, this one you are saying, right? Parallel equal to
No, not that one. Sorry, the above one. The above one. The class name is equal to TestNG dot parallel execution.
this one.
No, the below. Yeah, this one. Yeah.
If, so this is your class name.
Okay.
In this
Class.
class, you have a test case that you want to run. So that class name you have to mention here. Then
Okay.
only
Okay.
it will pick the test cases, right?
Yeah.
Means
Yes.
if
Yes.
two test case, for one test case, this is the class, and for second test case, this is the class. In this class, you have one test case. In this class, you have one test case. So this test class name you have to mention here. Then only it will pick that
Okay. Okay.
particular.
Sorry. Yeah. How about the name? Name is equal to test. That what is the reference of the name is equal to test?
Here you have to specify the class name.
No,
So
not that
first,
one. The name.
first
Name is equal to test.
this one.
Yeah. Yeah. That
This
one.
is your test case name. Like if as of now I've just written test, but your test case name should be like for this your test case is selected.
Okay. Okay.
You can in here similarly here for drag and drop. So here you can write drag and drop. So once this will complete the run, so in the test engine result, see your test case name will be selected and drag and drop.
No, but these are the two different classes, right? We are defining here.
Hmm.
But let's say, for example, if there are multiple test cases in each class, then how we define the name here?
If there are multiple test cases,
uh, in one class, how we can define the name over here? What is the reference of that?
uh, actually this is not an important one. Like your in
Yeah, yeah.
the test engine result, your name will come from the method name that you are specifying under this. And in this class,
Okay.
whatever the name you have defined, this one only will be picked up here in the report. This is you can consider as an optional one also, but it should not be same. So on a safer side, what I can say here you can mention you just mention the class name.
Okay, okay, yeah, fine.
Here just mention the class.
Yeah, yeah, now it's fine. Yeah.
So now it will become different, but the
Okay,
test
okay,
case that you will see in the report that will be picked up from here.
okay, yeah, got it.
Okay, so that's all from the parallel execution part. So in the TestNG, yes, we have covered everything. Tomorrow we will see Excel reading and writing part and the data provider concept.
Yeah, one small question. That count is
Yes,
equal to 5. What exactly is that in that XML? Because
count
someone has asked me.
this one thread count. So
Yeah,
actually
that's
it is creating a separate thread. Like if there is only one class, let's suppose here if you define five classes, so every
okay,
class will run in a single thread. If you mention here this value as 2, so and so two thread will be created, and whatever the classes you have mentioned, all those classes will be run in that particular thread. So all five classes, for example, thread count is 2, total classes are 5. So all the 5 classes will run in the two thread. But if
But
you
like,
want, but if you
yeah.
want to run your single class in a single thread, so mention here it as 5. But I doubt it create any thread or not. If it is creating any thread or not. Because this is the problem why why I have a doubt, because it is the parallel level on the class level and on the method level it is not working correctly, but on test level it is working fine. So that is why the problem is sometimes it creates thread and sometimes it doesn't create thread, because this thread creating part depends on your system configuration, because your system is basically giving a thread for each and every functionality. Whatever actions you are performing, that action is basically getting performed in a single thread. If threads are busy by your system, so that thread will not be allocated to this TestNG file. So that is why sometimes in parallel execution on the method level and on the class level, sometime it works and sometime it doesn't work. So this is the solution what I'm going to do in the framework part. I will create a thread for whenever I will run my test case. Whenever I will run my test case, explicitly I will create a thread from my program. So then
Oh,
this parallel execution problem will be resolved.
okay, okay, got it, got it. Oh, threads, these threads concepts. Okay, okay.
Mhm. Okay, so framework part will be very little bit, not little bit, I would say it will be very complex. So if you are practicing, if you are in sync with my classes, then you will not face any difficulty. But if you are still behind, then you may face some difficulty in understanding the concepts. Because from next week, we are going to enter in on a complex environment, because designing part will be started. So that's all for today's class. We are already running 20 minutes late. So thank you all. Uh, we will meet again tomorrow.
Thanks for
Yeah.
thank you very much for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.